Good afternoon, everybody. City of Cleveland Black History Month program. Today is Wednesday, February the 10th. My name is Grady Stevenson. I am the Executive Director of the Department of Community Relations, and it is my pleasure on behalf of our Mayor, Mayor Frank G. Jackson, to kick off this Black History celebration today here, where we are honoring one of our own poet laureates. As you have seen in a lot of the national programs lately, this whole poet laureate thing has taken a whole new level. And we are so proud and so honored to have here today our very own poet laureate. But she is not just a poet. She is a community activist. She is a person who has worked very hard in the community during this pandemic to take care of others, to show love to others as we go through this pandemic. So it is my pleasure to welcome everyone here today for our Black History celebration as we honor one of our own. Thank you so much for everything that you do, Honey Bell-Bey. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Shelly Shockley, the co-chair of Black History Month. Shelly.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Director. Thank you, Mayor Jackson, for giving us the opportunity to host events like this. And thank you, Honey, for taking time out of your very busy schedule to join us. Today, the way things are going to go, we are going to have an interview of sorts with Honey. I would like to say that it is more of a conversation where she and I will discuss what she has been doing throughout this pandemic and how she has helped our community in so many vital ways, particularly our children. So without further ado, I'm just going to hand it over to Honey because Honey knows Honey better than anybody else. And I'm going to ask Honey to give us a little insight on who she is and how she began on this road of activism, community giving, just being that focal point in the community.
Thank you so very much. I am honored, City of Cleveland, to think it not robbery to honor me. I think that when you are a servant leader, you certainly don't wake up and ever think about being rewarded. You do the work because innately you understand that some shoulders went before you and you stand on those shoulders. It is your duty not to sit still. It is your duty and your responsibility to the next generation to plant and give more than you ever took, more than you continue to take. So I think I stand on the words poetically of Langston Hughes when he asked the question, what happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Or does it fester like a sore and then run? Does that dream stink like rotten meat? Or does it crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Does it sag like a heavy load? Or does it explode? My job, my mission, my calling is to answer that dream and do whatever it takes possible to sow that into my community. I can't sit back and allow life to happen to it. I'm a part of the solution when problems arise. That's as simply poetically put as I can make it.
All right, that sounds good to me. So today we are really here not only to talk about you, the person, and what you have done during the pandemic, but to talk about UMADAOP. You are here representing the Cleveland UMADAOP and the Cleveland Urban Minority Alcohol and Drug Abuse Outreach Program. Can you tell us a little more about that program for those who are unaware of the program? And then we will go into what you do as the leader of Aiming High, the youth prevention aspect of that.
So we provide prevention services. We're located here on 79th and Superior. We've been here about 30 years, providing culturally specific activities for young people, women, children. I've been here since I was 25, fresh out of college. being able to create innovative activities for young people and impact the community in hands-on approaches.
Okay, so let's talk about your development of Aiming High. Now, how long has Aiming High, your prevention program with a target audience of youth, how long has that been in existence?
Probably 30 years in its name, because I can remember some of my colleagues were my youth workers when I was in school at Shaw, and I was in Aiming High. So it's funny to then come back and revitalize it with my own youth-led creative approaches that directly impact them in a different kind of way, with being the paradigm shift that really redirected some of that focus.
And what is the age range of the youth involved in Aiming High?
7. So we pretty much have you from, cradle to grave in some program or the other. Senior programs, drum programs, art programs, life skills education. So it really runs the gamut.
Okay, so when you speak of prevention, what are you really working to prevent? Are we preventing them from the social ills that they face in communities? What is the goal?
So when you really think about risk and protective factors, your goal is to try to take a look at, I know all these ills happen in community, and I can sit and look at the problem all day long, but I approach it from an asset-based growth mindset perspective, try to find out what's positive that exists in that community, and there's positivity all throughout this beautiful city, and enhance that. That's what I'm not focused. The problem exists. You're in these economically deprived communities. You're sometimes in schools in academic failure. I can sit and preach about that all day long. My to find the protective factors and cover that, to cover the risk factors. So it's not I'm going to prevent every kid from doing drugs. I'm going to prevent every kid from being involved in violence. What I am going to do is pull out what's your strengths, so that innately from those strengths, you can fight all the other crap that goes on, not just in community or in your family, bigger in your environment and in society. So I'm trying to get to your strengths and have you recognize them, so you understand it's not Miss Honey with magic fairy dust. It's innately in you. Yeah, it's been my.
Okay, and so when we find that strength that they have, then it is the next step is helping them to nurture that strength, to find good ways to utilize that strength.
Yes, and then once you nurture it, to take, just like with us, to take whatever it is that God has given you and give it back to the community, give it back to the world. So if I found out that it's dance, if I found out that it's poetry, my job is not to hold on to it. My job is to cultivate that gift, find a way to give it back to the world. Now it no longer belongs to you. And so when a young person has that type of ownership over what's innately in them, you can change the world, not just your family. You can change the entire world. And so that's what I kind of cultivate, and they grow up believing it. Miss Honey said that I can fly to Paris. And so what do? I make sure at 12 years old, you have your passport. You don't have to worry about paying for it. And I'm going to take you to Paris too, on the trip of your life, or Ghana, or some of the other experiences I provided for young people.
Okay, so you truly have a knack for giving them hope. Would you say at the core of what you're doing, it is instilling hope and also letting them know that no matter what the circumstances, they can do whatever they want to do?
Yeah.
If they believe.
Yeah, I think more so I excavate what's in them. Like visually see the pyramids. The hope of the tomb already exists, so it's already in you. My job, again, no fairy dust, nothing magical about me. I don't have to empower what's already in there. I'm not going to give that to you. It's in you. So I'm just scraping it up to the surface. I'm just helping you see what's in you. So greatness is in you. Miss Honey, don't give it. You got it already. You have it. So then when they own it like that, it's not some allegiance to me. When you're off to college, you no longer have me. It's already in you. You can still in you, and you can reach to God, who blessed and gave it to you in the first place. So I kind of remove myself from the equation I'm just digging out your greatness by any means necessary. Some is deeper, and I need a couple shovels to get to it, but it's still in there. Yeah.
Okay. Now, specifically, speaking of this past year, when we were throwing out names and asking for individuals or organizations who had really had an impact on the city of Cleveland during COVID and the pandemic, your name was brought up. And what was indicated was that not only were you instrumental in providing the food for your target agency audience, but then you said, how can we take this a step further? And you began to provide the PPE, again, not just for your target audience within your organization, but community-wide. So how did that look, and do you think that that was truly successful? Did we lose Honey? I see stuff leaving. Am I leaving?
I hear you fine.
Okay, I see you again, but I didn't hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
I heard your complete question. In some ways, I wish that I was on my phone and not on this computer, because I walk you behind me and really show the impact of this work. Every single Wednesday, the amount of families that we have been able to serve blows my mind. Happens every single Wednesday, has happened since March. So for one full year to paint this picture, never in a billion years would I think this community educator, this poet who's on the battlefield in the classroom would now become this first responder in a different kind of way. You couldn't have paid me to believe that. This is not my world. Distributing food and PPE at this level. What I did know early on, we have a problem. It was early that you knew that there was a problem getting ready to happen. You knew it immediately. I didn't have time to sit down and have a whole lot of brainstorming activities and let's think about what we're going to do. Let's plan it and then plan a meeting to plan the meeting of what we're going to do. It was action time immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking those first, it's funny when I think back, those first original mask kits that I was making for families, I was hand sewing those, getting huge buckets, because it was hard to find sanitizer at that time, of the aloe gel and alcohol, and making that stuff ourselves. If you come down to our office right now, if you were to look at 79, from where we are backed all the way up to East High School, the cars are loaded. We serve about 155 families every single week, with food, with produce, with frozen goods. Why are we doing that? Because the kids are out of school. So no matter how you cut it, they are in their refrigerator all day long. So the family conflict we were saying, because the boy eat me out of house at home. Okay, so how can I solve that? Can I do something to help that situation? And then we recognize that the need has not stopped. And so I kept thinking, okay, by August, this program I've initiated will be over. Oh, by September, it will be over. And here we are, it's March, and we're still grinding away at it.
Okay, so you actually talked about a visual, and I am going to try. So let God be with us while I try and share the slideshow that you sent to me that will give the audience a visual of the work that you have done in the community throughout this pandemic. So bear with me for one moment. We were able to do it during our test, and I'm going to try and do it again. So everyone, what you are seeing, and Honey can tell you more, but this is a slideshow of what's been going on.
Okay, so what you're watching immediately, I started rinsing the U-Hauls and going and loading up. And this is a small portion of what those lines would look like. And then as it went on, as you can see, traffic was everywhere on both sides of the street, going south and going north. This is probably me calling in more food when we saw the need was beyond anything I had ever seen or expected in our community. But it allowed me, this is one of my young Morehouse students home. And while he's home, you see what he's doing. He's here helping me serve back, give back to everything that had been given to him. And it was important for me to also make sure we were serving healthy foods, as in today, serving just hundreds of families in an area I was not used to. It was not planned. Now you see the evolution of the project where you can't even get out of your cars for safety. Now, so you see, once I recognize, if you know where our building is located, the picture you just saw is all the way back to East High. And usually I'm so grateful when police come by, they just help and aid that process. So I guess in short, it is if you see a problem in your community and you know it's a problem, it's your duty and your responsibility. No one told me I had to do this. I could have closed this building up when the pandemic hit, if I wanted to. I could have said, we're closed and that's the end of it. I could have sat home, but I wasn't going to do that. I was going to have academic programs. Nobody mandated. I'm not paid to do this. There's no grant that follows this. This is not foundation money. This must be done in the discussion. And that's pretty much how it has proceeded for almost going on a full year. Some of the hardest work I've ever done, because you leave your house on a Wednesday morning at pretty much 5 o'clock in the morning. You load these trucks and you get going. And right now behind me in the next room, this is what they're doing. They are serving a community. It's not a reward. It is your duty. It's what you're supposed to do, like, period, end of discussion. What you have to do because the need presented itself. What else was I going to do? Sit and watch families struggle, hear kids on the Zoom arguing because they were hungry. There was nothing in the house. They no longer was trying to go to the school to get the bag lunch. No, we provide 7 meals a day in those bags. Chicken, beef, pork, turkey, the milk, the cheese. You saw the produce, the examples of it, and it eases the need of the family when they're so stretched. So when people would ask me, let me just add this real quick. Sometimes people would ask me, I'm going to use the word goofy questions like, honey, families are getting support through food stamps. Do they need your extra food? How do you know they aren't using it? Number one, no one's lining up to get something and waiting in a line if you don't need it. You suddenly have kids at home all day eating double what they would have eaten because they're away from the I see a question in the chat. I'm going to come to that. They're away from the breakfast and the lunch that they would usually get. Can you read the question for me that came up?
I sure will. The question was, and it comes from Kayla Smith, and it says, how were you able to provide such an immense amount of food for the community for several months at a time?
Okay, so it's a great question. Thank you, Kayla. It's still going on. We do this every single week. We're in the hundreds of thousands of meals now. I had a partnership. I was not licensed as a food bank, but I did have a partnership with our food bank, as well as relationships. All things are built on relationships with some grocers. So once I pretty much said, look, I have to change the game. This is not me providing snacks in the after school program. This is much more immense. Then I had everything I need. Then I was literally doing what I did yesterday, renting a U-Haul. I rent the U-Haul, and we are loading them up, and we make several trips back and forth on Wednesday mornings to our great Cleveland Food Bank, who understood immediately once I sent a letter to them telling them the immense need. They also did not go through with me. Do you have X, Y, and Z? We have time to meet. I see someone bleeding. Don't send me through 5 trainings on how to make a Band-Aid. Just give me a Band-Aid. Let me fix this problem. And when the problem leaves, then you can tell me how to go through and make a Band-Aid. So they were with me in the struggle immediately. And the relationships with them and grocers are so beautiful that usually I just say, give that lady whatever she needs so she don't call us again. We don't want to hear her. We don't want to hear her story, her sob, her anything. Load her up with whatever she needs. And I literally have that. Fish, just great products. And my rule, I'm going to throw this out. You don't serve anything in my pantry you wouldn't eat yourself. So if it has a blemish, if the package has been opened, if it's rotten, don't ask me, Miss Honey, is this okay for the bag? Would you eat it? And when you pack their bags, if you saw those bags on the floor, you pack them like you were a grocer. So my volunteers are like, never did a grocery shop, but neither have I. But I don't want my stuff smashed. You don't put the PPE stuff, hand sanitizer and bleach cleaner in the same bag with vegetables and fruit. So it is not just about serving food, it's about taking care of people. And I'm going to take care of you in a way that if it was my mother, I want her taken care of like that. If it was me, take care of me like that. Pack certain things in paper, certain things in plastic. So it became about this community love, and the community knows that. They know I do vegan bags. It's crazy. Who's going to separate bags? I do bags for my Islamic family, making sure there's no pork products in it. You do the energy to love on community, and they feel that. So that while we hurt, we also heal together. And so that's all I was trying to do. And I mistakenly slipped up and fell in this because this was not the plan. This was not.
Well, it may not have been your plan. You didn't think about it and say this initially that this was going to be, but it was God's plan, because God planted that seed that puts you into motion, and that's what brings us to today. Now, when you talk about the academy, the virtual academy, where you offered the reading classes, the cooking classes, the drama, and all aspects of song and appreciation. Now, were these some of the programs that you had in place prior to the pandemic, or was this curriculum developed as a result of the pandemic?
Great question. The majority of it was developed as a result after. For an example, my primary program, the Distinguished Gentleman of Spoken Word, is a poetry program that has a very hard time equalizing in a virtual world, because you can't hear each other's parts and be synchronized. So what do? I got to do something broader. So I have these cooking classes. I never cooked in my life. I'm gonna tell you all a secret, City of Cleveland. I have 60 kids in 2 separate groups in this cooking situation. I'm gonna tell you all a secret. Please don't tell anybody. The kids all have aprons and matching hats. If you've ever seen it on Zoom, it'll blow your mind. And they are cooking steak and shrimp and prime rib. They are getting it in. I can't cook. Seriously, like before this class, don't tell any of these kids, because they're like, oh, Miss Honey, how much sage to put in this? Miss Honey don't know. That's the beauty of having Google. All of a sudden, I am cooking in there. I got the chef hat to say my name, Chef Bell-Bey. I am making it up. They don't need to know that. So it's not about the tools that I have. It's about being a vessel and being willing to learn. One day I'm gonna tell them, I hope you little people know that I'm learning while you learn. I have never baked cookies from scratch in my life. I've never baked before this class, pancakes from scratch in my life, and never been in the kitchen, done any of this, but having the time of my life with them, because I decided to be available and engage them in all this stuff. I'm looking at here some of the books. This book here, all about PPE to kids. This is something that we've read. It's a great comic book. Amina and Amir, with characters, as you can see on the cover, that look just like them. So why wouldn't they be engaged? The other thing I bought are professional puppets, real puppets as big as I. So now we're doing puppet shows. I've never done that before the pandemic. Pandemic says game changer. I've never worked as hard and as long. I am tired. Days that start at 5 in the morning and end at 8, 9 at night. But the situation and the need calls for it. And it was nothing else to do. You sit and watch someone burn, and you know innately you have the tools to put the fire out. You have what it takes to quench the fire. That's my job. That's my duty, my mission, my purpose, my call on life. And to everyone who paved the way. And I know it seems like rhetoric, but there's people who paved the way for me to do that. The Mary McLeod Bethunes, the founder of my alma mater, you paved the way with nothing. 5 girls and $1.50 is all you had. So if you can do that, what excuse do I have to sit back and say, oh, well, the kids will figure it out? No, they can't figure it out. Let them figure it out. And so that's pretty much what I did. Roll up your sleeves, whether you know what you're doing or not. Fake it till you make it. Get yourself in the kitchen and pretend like you're cooking. And then I had pretty much a waiting list, because I provide the kids everything they need, every single item of food, all of the spatulas, cutting boards, knives, matching set. They all get a great cooking set, and they are ready online if you've ever seen it. It's a beautiful picture to see them all in their colored aprons and hats. Cooking with someone who's really pretending to cook, and they think I know what I'm doing. So I know what I'm doing. I cannot cook.
I have seen them and I have witnessed some of those meals and they look very good. And I always assumed that you were cooking and knew how to cook, and that's how this all came about. So, but that's again what you've already been talking about from the beginning, is that we push ourselves to do things that we don't know we have within us, but we are going to do what we have to do in order to bring about some change. And I think that you're making a lot of change in a lot of these young people. Because most of these kids that I've seen, like as an example, Miss Logan. Miss Logan was not the one who was interested really that I knew of in cooking. But now she has become the cook. Now she comes from a cooking family, but she is really enjoying that.
Yes, she is. She probably going to be one of my junior sous chefs. She's so interested now, even if it's not, because I made them a workbook talking about seasoning and healthy foods and odd foods they usually wouldn't eat, like bok choy or leeks, or how do you properly take care of a prime rib? How do you cook it blue? How do you cook it rare? How do you cook it well? But she bit into that. So sometimes she'll cook on the weekends, this particular young lady, and send me, Miss Honey, look what you started. But then because, and I don't think her grandmother would mind me saying this, because she got so engaged in this class, that started to trickle over her interest in her school stuff. So really what I'm doing that people didn't know, I'm just baiting you. I'm baiting you in this virtual world because it's hard. So if you can sit and have a great time with Miss Honey, but you still got to open the book and learn, let me help you transfer that now that you're back in school and you're struggling because you're not used to the environment of it. You've been hooked through my class. So let me help you swim through the waters of every other class. I'm just hooking you. It's just a hook. So I don't need to know how to cook. I don't need to know how to golf. I don't need to know how to do any of it. I need to have the heart and passion to want to pull you into it and really trick you, poor kids. I figured it out. Figured it out as you figure it out. They don't know that though. So,
I think you might need to start a program for us adults too. Some of us don't push ourselves as far as we need to go.
Right.
So that might be something you need to look at next time.
Right.
So when you started, were there any challenges with the youth? Did you see your youth population grow from what you were accustomed to in the virtual world?
So I always have had a large number of young people, but virtually, I don't really worry about the numbers past. I don't really like classes bigger than 50, so I can navigate the screens and see you all and have engagement. But I definitely had the room to add more kids. It just became to make sure no one was getting lost in that process. And so I still had limited hands-on contact. I still do with them. And that is I prepackage. I almost wish I could move the screen. I prepackage all of what they need for a given week. And then they come and pick it up. So I see them in that short time that they're just picking up the food. And I'm trying to ascertain, make sure you're not a number, but you're not getting lost in this virtual space, that I have real contact somehow with you. And that's been different. It has been definitely different, but I've welcomed the changes. And so they don't bother me. I look to change with the change. You constantly hear this kid has a learning deficit. And I've never been that person that bought into kids having learning deficits. I'm always saying maybe the teacher have a teaching deficit. So I've always been the one to navigate and teach to the child and figure out what they need. And the virtual environment was no different. How do I figure out what you need, change my way of thinking, and give it to you? So I've had to totally change everything I do.
Okay. If we had more teachers like that, we would be dangerous. So I have, now, I guess it's sounding like the young people were already receptive to this. So, but what were some of the challenges that you had to overcome in the beginning, at the onset?
At the onset, I think balance. How do you do all this? You just heard one program that probably could have taken the whole week itself to navigate and make it happen. The food program, the puppet program, the reading program, the cooking program, the poetry program, the recording arts program, the life skills. It was balancing all of that and trying to include a slither of self-care in the process. Of course, how do you fund all of this when you're taking care of all of the supplies and you don't want the pressure on anyone else? You haven't asked anyone for anything. You're just putting it together. So the challenge was never the young people because their excitement. I taught a class, and I'm looking at the art now, art appreciation, the art of Basquiat. So you have little bitty kids talking about Basquiat and what he drew and how they can have abstract drawing. So the challenge was just to always keep it fun, to supply the kits for what they needed, and for you not to transfer any of your worry that you couldn't get it done to them. Just to be transparent, to keep that like a parent would do. You want to know how things are going to get under the Christmas tree. That's not the kid's burden, that's yours. And so taking that on and balancing that when it was all brand new and you got into the fire immediately. You didn't wait until April. You didn't wait until summer. By March, when schools closed, I opened that next week immediately, thinking that it was just going to be a 2 or 3 week situation and COVID would be over. I was bought in like the goofballs who were saying, let it get cold, this will be done. It's like, yeah, this is a little temporary thing. Listen, this thing is still going on and it's okay. It really is okay.
So as we see that this is quickly turning into a full year, we are hearing that our young people are backsliding, that in terms of their educational outcomes, they are not keeping up as they were prior to. And many are saying that we are potentially going to lose another generation of our students. So my question is, and I think I know what your response is going to be, but knowing that, hearing that, and seeing what you have been able to do, what advice would you give to those who are listening to begin to take their hand at being a part of the solution and not the problem?
Ooh. Oh, that's a question for you. It is a huge systemic problem. It is one that I think we won't see the full results of for many, many years to come. However, if you look at other pieces and entities that impacted young people to this degree, this pipeline from school to prison, this base of where so many of them come, if you looked at that, you just crumble and say that there's failure. I can't do that. What I do look at is things like summer learning loss, right? So if the kids haven't been in school, we're in an extended period of summer learning loss that says kids lose all these computations by not being in school. I think we have to be very vigilant in combating that through reading, through writing, through current affairs, through just keeping them involved in something. And research says that they fare better by just being in something, even if that something is not necessarily academic while school is out. Do I think that there's going to be some kids who get lost through the cracks? Very sadly, yes. I think it's going to take some work from all of us, though, school, community, church, to make sure we inoculate them. And as soon as school goes back, hopefully in March, that we are on that immediately, making sure we bring them up. This summer can't be wasted either. This first summer back, you have got to, if I were talking to parents, you cannot allow them to lay around, sleep around, do nothing. They have got to be involved in something constructive that will help lead them. I don't care if that's summer job. They got to be involved in something, and it has to happen immediately. Not a time to wait or waste here.
Okay, so I guess I asked the question not only for the audience, but even for myself to say, to look at what I personally can do to help. So those are, that's very interesting. And I think that what you were saying in terms of like when you talk about this summer coming up, I know when I was growing up, we were not allowed to just lay around. If you weren't when we got to the point that we were beyond camp age, you still had to find something to do. And I know that's how I learned a lot of things, because I took the community book and at the that used to have in Cleveland Heights that had classes, and I just picked classes. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll go, this sounds interesting, I'll do this. Just so that I would not be sitting at home, because my mother would tell you at any point, idle time is the devil's playground, and she wasn't letting the devil play around with us. So that was how I came up. But looking at what individually we can do, or if there's things that we need to be advocating for, I guess would be the best thing to say. Are there programs we need to get some of our nonprofits to begin developing, or develop a nonprofit to ensure? I guess I'm just really concerned about seeing our children lost.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I thank you for what you have offered to us. At this point, we can open it up to questions to our audience. So if anyone else has a question, they can place it into the chat. Director, if you have any questions, you can chime in right here. And hopefully we will leave a few minutes and allow Honey to grace us with some of her poetic magic.
Good. So I do have a question. Honey, I heard you early on in your process saying that you're doing this work and this is not something that you're getting paid for when you have your food giveaway and all of it. In the day where everybody is receiving some type of money from the government from what they're doing, why aren't you tapping into that? I understand, listen, I'm a pastor, so I understand working from your heart and doing those things that you see there's a need in your community to do and all of that. But while there's an opportunity for that, why aren't you tapping into that resource that you can get some assistance in what you're doing?
So once this process is over, and I think one of the beauties of being a leader, a servant leader, is that you're able to admit your weaknesses. This is strength, and your strengths at the same time. So the areas that I am weak in, and I can say that graciously, I would love, please, help, direction in that process, because I got so busy trying to do the work that I didn't stop to help plug it, not because I don't need or want it. I both need and want it. I just would appreciate the help and direction of some who are even here in this platform from the city, which is why I'm so grateful for this award, because it says, you see the work I do. I need help to link the pieces, because some of it's just ignorance, lack of knowledge, or even fear of some of the processes to make that happen. So I am open, willing, needing the guidance and leadership and help. Those are the areas that don't represent my strengths, which isn't weakness. It's honestly saying, help me so I can link this and continue the work.
So that's very good. So, while we're having this is a celebration, but we also have the opportunity for someone who may be out there listening. You see the good work that Honey is doing, and she's telling you she needs assistance in that area. If you have that specialty, if you have knowledge in that area, would you reach out to her and help help that community, because they need it more than we probably know just from seeing this session today. So I'm glad that we had the opportunity to highlight what you're doing and really spend some time talking about it, because it's because of people like you, Honey, that our communities get stronger, that they grow from these experiences, and maybe somebody will come out of that and learn how to help someone else. So thank you so much. I am just so godly proud of what I see going on over there on East 79th Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pastor. I appreciate that.
So, Honey, if you have something that you would like to share with us, I would love for you to share your poetic magic with us before we close out.
Shelly, I see that there is another question.
Do you? Let's see.
Yeah, that came from Kayla as well. What are some of the ways we can reach out and keep the youth engaged virtually throughout this pandemic? More specifically, our teens.
I think it is about creating things that are relevant to them, not to you. Stepping outside your box. Let there be no box at all. You know, just living in this open space. I think don't be afraid to just create it, whatever it is. If that it is creating art kits and now suddenly you're virtually painting with kids, then create that. Send home those different paint kits that take the work to do and do it. Just paint. If that it is doing Basquiat and Shakespeare and Tupac and having fun with them, how do you reach them? Find out what it is that engages them and make sure you add life skill challenges and change to it. So I'm not just painting, we're talking and we're rapping about how you see your life in the process of it. More specifically, our teens, it has to be something that engages them. So they know when they come to my class to cook, yeah, we're talking about the ingredients going into the spice of the food, but we're also talking about the spice of life. We're talking about how you have to have integrity in what you're doing. So I'm talking and reaching them through ways that are relevant to them, not preaching down to them, not preaching over them, but right where they are, finding out what that it is. For us, it's been art, it's been cooking, it's been poetry. For you, it might be dance, it might be yoga. You got to find what it is that they need and don't be afraid to try it. So if it starts with 2 kids, good job, keep going. Until it's 4 kids, 5 kids, whatever your cap is, and be committed and dedicated to that it, no matter what. And I was clearly, I'm in this for the long haul. No matter what, I'm in it. So hopefully I want out of it, some of it. But I'm in it until at least we're out of the tunnel of it completely. And I'm dedicated to that.
All right, that sounds good. Now, I don't see any more questions. I don't think, wait a minute. I think that's it. So, honey, if you have some poetry that you'd like to share, I would love to hear it. And then I will close us out and tell folks when they can come back and join us again.
Well, we also have something we need to present, so we'll let her do. We'll let her do the poetry.
Okay.
Okay, so my favorite poem, and we're very close to National Poetry Month, so I'll do a little piece of 2 of my favorite poems. My absolute favorite poem on all of earth was written by the first African-American poet to gain fame and notoriety, and that is the Paul Laurence Dunbar. He is the poet's poet. His home right here in Ohio, and he wrote the words to Sympathy, and they simply go, I know what the caged bird feels. Alas, when the sun is bright on the upland slopes, and the first bird sings and the first bud opes, and his faint perfume on his chalice still, oh, I know what the caged bird feels. I know why the caged bird beats his wings until his blood is red on the crew bars. And he must fly back to his perch and cling. So upwards to heaven he flings. Oh, I know why the caged bird sings. Why are you looking at me? Oh, you may write me down in history, Maya Angelou said, with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust, I rise. Did you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. I see you. You may try to kill me with your hatefulness, but still, Maya said, I rise. Paul Laurence Dunbar and Maya Angelou, y'all. Celebrate Black History with the city of Cleveland. Thank you.
That was wonderful. Director, may you make the presentation, please, sir?
Absolutely. So, honey, it is indeed my pleasure. From the City of Cleveland 2021 Black History Month Committee, Strengthening Black Families Through the Quest for Equity and Equality, would like to honor Honey Bell-Bey for your continuous leadership and tenacity February 2020. So thank you so much. You can't see it. That's it, but we do have a plaque for you, and we will get this plaque out to you so that you can hang very proudly in the center for all to see. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for what you do for the city of Cleveland and its citizens.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm honored.
And actually, honey, I think I'll bring that to you in just a little while.
Yes, come on over.
Because I've got to pick something up for you. So I'll run by City Hall, pick that up, and then bring that to you.
I'd love to see you. Thank you.
So I thank everyone who joined us. We did have another question, but I'm not certain. I think what she was saying was, are the programs offered in your community, is it a fact, is it because there aren't many people of your caliber to offer similar programs?
I'm trying to process the question. Are the programs?
I'm thinking that what she's actually trying to say is there's nobody else that can do it like you. But I think that I think that's what the question is. Oh, and I got a thumbs up, so that's what it was.
I don't know why when she said it, it just I think that's the first question today that almost makes me want to cry. You know, it is. So I'm like, oh, she got me. I'm headed out the door. You got me on the way out. That last one is like, where you going? I think I said this morning, and I say it to everyone, you know, we all have heard it a billion times, Dr. King's, your service is rent. I'm not waking up trying to be anyone. I don't wake up trying to be. I just am, and understanding what I owe. And I think every person has that. My meat is to do his will. It's what feeds me. My meat is to do what he sent me here to do. And it's my job to get it done in a short little period of time that I have. And we have a short little journey. And while I'm here, I'm the one that said at the end of the day, she tried her best to serve community. And it's not really about there not being people like me, because everyone has something. And it's everyone's duty. You breathe the same air, you walk by, you see the problem. It's everyone's duty to take a piece of the problem. You take a piece of the solution. You take a piece of the beauty. It's your job. It's your job to roll it up and get busy. So I don't think it's not just Honey. It's everyone doing whatever God put them on this earth to get done. What I believe. And it's what I wake up fueled by every single day, even on days like the day where you're tired. So what? You know, do it tired, do it scared, do it afraid, get it done. And that's just, that's who I am.
Well, I'm happy that you are who you are. And I am very happy about what I have seen you do. I know I have posted on your page before that I wish I had a teacher like you when I was growing up. I had some awesome teachers that taught me a lot of things, but some of the amazing activities that you have these kids involved in, I really wish I had been involved in as a child. So thank you, and God bless you.
God bless you.
Now, to all of our participants who have logged on, I want to thank you very much for joining us. This is just one of many, and I'm surprised at how many we actually have, seeing that this is a pandemic. We are accustomed to doing this in person, and we are accustomed to having a lot of events. Somehow I thought we would have fewer events because we were doing everything virtually, but I think we have ended up doing just as many, if not more. But I thank you for joining us. This video has been recorded, and you will be able to find it on YouTube if you visit TV20's YouTube channel. And they also, I believe, will show this on TV20. But we also have a program coming to you tomorrow, Strengthening Black Families Through the Quest for Equity and Equality Through Community Outreach. Another individual who has been doing a lot during the pandemic to help out those who are less fortunate, and that is Jeff Brown of The Jeff Brown Show. Again, it will be at noon. Some folks, I believe, came via my various personal sites because I posted the link, which I will do. It's a different link for tomorrow. I will do that again tomorrow to show you where to come. But you can also go to www.clevelandohio.gov/Black History Month. And that will take you to our Eventbrite page, which has the availability for you to register for all of the events that are coming up. Next week, we will also have a conversation with Dr. Buddy of the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, and we will have a panel discussion with local pastors. The discussion with the pastors will be shown live also via the City of Cleveland Facebook page. The other events are WebEx and can be found, as I indicated, after the fact on YouTube. Thank you all again for joining us. Thank you, Director, for your leadership and guidance. Thank you, Mayor Jackson, for giving us the opportunity to do these things. And Honey, again, thank you for being here and enlightening us all. I am going to say good night, good afternoon, and we look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow. Bye-bye.